Hi everyone, this is Erin from Sandpaper Road, and welcome to the video tutorial portion of pattern number 2, craft outfitting. I am so excited. You should have the pattern in front of you. If you haven't yet printed it out and you're just going to follow the video tutorial, that's fine. There are two ways you can print it. You can print it text only, and that's what I have in front of me, or you can print it with the full color photos in case you're going somewhere that maybe doesn't have Wi-Fi and you just like to take a look at the photos along the way. So we're going to jump right in and get started because the pattern, the video tutorial is a little lengthy. Feel free to start and stop at any time, pause, save, whatever, as you have, this is part of your purchase, so you can watch it as many times as you want. So let's go through the basics and then we will get started on the pattern. The first thing is 2 pieces of 12 by 12 cardstock in solid color 1, and let's label them as we go. Okay, solid color 1, 2 pieces. By the way, today I am going to make Christmas pages. Number 2 is 2 12 by 12 pieces of cardstock in solid color number 2. 2 pieces in solid color number 3. These are all your choice, and hopefully they are just pieces from your stash. And 1 single piece of solid color 4. Now the pieces should coordinate. You know, you want them to at least go together. Then you have 8.5 by 11 pieces of cardstock in white, and it should be 110 pounds. So there is your white. And then our pattern paper choices. Where is my pattern paper stack? My pattern paper choices today are coming from the Die Cuts with a View giant Christmas and winter stack that is just massive. And so I chose one. This is going to be my pattern A. This is going to be my pattern B. Pattern C, and pattern D. These were all just my personal choices, not really. I'm going to say this though, when you're choosing your paper, be mindful of the pattern that you choose itself, just the pattern. Okay, you'll notice I have a little bit of variety. Also the color choice, I'll leave these out here. These are the whites, okay? Our solid colors. Now I will also let you know, I'll let you in on a little secret. This green, was it the green one? No, it was this navy one. I had actually a piece of red that was like a little bit lighter of a shade than that red. And I had it originally in my stack, and it did not look right to me. It just wasn't sitting right with me. So I swapped that out for the navy, and I was happy with that. So here is how we're starting. This pattern also calls for this heart-shaped template, which you can download also with the pattern. And what I did when I downloaded it is I actually just hit print, and along with the pattern it just prints out on an extra sheet of paper, and then you can just cut it out. Maybe cut one in a dark piece of paper and then one in a light piece of paper, depending on that way you can have them on hand. And I just use a little clothespin to keep them on my table because I'll lose this with all my other stuff. So the heart-shaped template, you're going to need basic supplies like scissors and paper trimmer and things like that. Adhesive, you'll need at least 3 rolls. I'm using the advanced tape glider from Scotch, and I can see I'm already going to need to replace a roll, and that's fine. We're also going to need a stamp and die set plus a die cutting machine. And today, I'm actually going to use this one from Stampin' Up. It's, I think it's kind of old, as a matter of fact, an oldie but a goodie. So I'm going to use this and then the dies that come with it. I haven't made a scrapbook page with this set yet, but I've made lots of cards, so I'm anxious actually to use it on scrapbook pages. I also like to keep my dies in little pieces in like a little yogurt container or something, so that's nice to have. Go down the rest of your list and almost use it like a checkoff list. And now the list does call for Versamark ink or other embossing ink. This is Versamark, if you don't know, and it's a watermark stamp pad. It's great for embossing. If you're going to emboss, you might want to have some clear embossing powder. If you don't plan to emboss or you don't have this kind of ink at all, that's fine. You could use other ink, just same color ink for stamping, anything you would ordinarily use. You'll also need a sentiment stamp. It does not have to have a die, but the one that I chose does have a coordinating die. I do not remember what the manufacturer is or where this came from or when I got it or anything about it, honest to goodness. But I thought it was perfect for my the stamps that I chose, and so this is the one I'm going to use. So let's get started. Let's just jump right in and get started. So now that we've pulled our papers and we know what stamps and dies and the basics, we can actually get started. There are some other things that are listed as optional or nice to have, and you can kind of pull those as you go, especially if sometimes you almost have to see the pattern sort of evolve before you make a decision as to whether or not you're going to go ahead that way. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is actually go through and label all of my papers, my cardstock and my pattern papers. Now, the white 8.5 by 11, I don't have to label because that's the only paper of that I have. But the other ones, I better label or I'm going to forget. I'm going to forget what it was that I called solid color 1. I'm going to forget what it was that I called solid color 2, and so on. So let's go color 1. And I'm going to write out the word color, because if I just see one line, I may forget or think it's something that it isn't. If your paper has a textured side and a smooth side, make the decision now as to which side you're going to have as the front and which you're going to have as the back. I think I'm going to use the smooth side, so I'll label on the back color 2. Color 2. Color 3. And this will be, color 4. Now for the patterns, if you have double-sided paper, you can use little Post-its or something like that and just stick it on there, and then you're probably going to need several Post-its though, because once you cut, you're going to want to put a little Post-it on every single one. So just be mindful of that. So this was pattern A. I called this one B, I remember. B, C, and D. D, I said. Oh my goodness. Okay, the other thing is I'm going to keep my pattern paper face down. It's going to help me get less distracted, and sometimes when I see the pattern, I think, ooh, I want to make this change, I want to make that change, when I see the actual pattern and I'm seeing the project unfold. So I don't want to do that. I want to stick to the pattern as much as possible as it's listed. Let's start with step 1. Before we do anything, if any of your pattern papers, if any of these have a perforation at one end, or any of your cardstocks have a perforation at one end, you can certainly trim that off now before we get started. It might make your life easier, so feel free to do that. I am going to take a look at step 1, and it says locate pieces of 12 by 12 color number 1. This was our color number 1. It was the green. And we're going to actually trim each piece. I'm going to need more room back here. We're going to trim each piece to 11 3/4 by 11 3/4, and we're going to lay them side by side. Now the way we do that is, I'm going to work on the back here. Obviously the first cut is simple. 11 3/4 is just a plain old regular cut at the 11 3/4 mark. I'm gonna, let's see, do we discard this piece? This will be the base, cut sideways. I'm gonna hold on to this piece because I can't read all the way clear down yet. I'm gonna turn it 1/4 turn, and I'm gonna cut again at 11 3/4, right there. Now I've got a true 11 3/4 by 11 3/4 piece, and I'm going to do the same to the other side, or to the other page. Now sometimes your paper is a true 12 by 12, and your scrap strips end up to be perfectly 1/4 inch each wide, and sometimes the paper you start with is not 12 by 12. So there we go. Here is our double page spread, the base. So now we're going to locate one piece of pattern A. I'm going to turn around here and get my pattern A. And I'm going to cut it in half to make 2 sheets of 6 by 12. Okay. Right in half at the 6. Okay, right there. That is the 6, isn't it? Turn 1/2 sideways, and let me move this other one out of the way. Actually, guess what I'm going to do? What happened to my pencil? Now that I've cut it in half, I'm going to label this A and this A before I move them. There. Okay, so turn 1/2 sideways and cut at the 4.5 inch mark. 4.5. Before I even take it out of the thing, I'm going to label it A. Lay the 6 inch side against the left center of the seam of the double page spread and lay its mate on the right side. So there should be a 6 inch side, right? Is there? A 6 inch side against the left center. Of the seam and lay its mate on the right side, as if you laid the 6 by 12 sheets sideways. I love that. Okay, look how cute that is. Very nice. We're just laying for now until it tells us lay its mate on the right side as if you laid it sideways. Mark the remaining piece, pattern A. We already did that. Locate one piece, 12 by 12, color number 2, and cut to a 5 by 12. Where is my color number 2? Color number 2. Let's cut to a 5 by 12. Where is the 5? There we go. Color 2. All right. Mark the bigger half, color 2, and set aside. We did that. Ooh, I need to change my blade. Oh, no. Okay, I'll need to change my blade, I think. Already, I can see see what's happening. Or, let's see, does this ever happen where you get little pieces? Now, a little sanding block right here fixes that. Okay, so if you don't have a sanding block, nail file, ooh, yikes. A nail file will do that too. Okay, I'm not gonna change my blade right this second, but I will eventually. There, good as new, okay. All right, where were we? Let's see, and cut to 5 by 12, mark the bigger half and set aside. Turn the 5 by 12 piece horizontally and cut at the 7-inch mark. And cut at the 7-inch mark. Okay. I am gonna have to change my blade because I'm not gonna sand off each little individual thing, and that's gonna drive me nuts. Ooh wee. Goodness sakes. I hope I have another blade in here ready to go to do. That's ridiculous. There we go. Okay. There's right where I cut. Okay. Mark the bigger half, color, let's see, located place. Mark the bigger half, color, turn the 5 by 12 horizontally and cut the 7-inch. Mark the 5 by 5 piece. All right, here we go. Texture, okay. Mark the 5 by 5 leftover piece also as color 2, 5 by 5. I'm gonna write that there. And set aside. Lay the 5 by 7 color number 2 piece on the right side of the double page spread on top of the pattern A piece. As such, it should fit. Look. Yep. Very, very, very nice. Look at all my little flingy pieces right there. Okay, great. Then mark the spaces where 4 by 6 photos will later be added to the page. 3 horizontal photos. Let's see. Let me pull out my, you know, it's always nice to have on hand a few little, any photos, okay? Let's see. 3 horizontal photos will fit on the far left, one on top of the other. I'm pulling out of my, box here 3 horizontal, just random 3 horizontal photos. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and they will fit right there. And those aren't the photos I'm going to use. They're just sitting. I mean, if that's annoying to you, you could go like that and just have something there. I'd have like a 6 by 4, 4 by 6, like a markup, and then 2 vertical photos will fit on the far right side, one on top of the other. Do I have another vertical one? Okay. And then, do we have another one? One 4 by 6 photo will fit nicely inside the solid color piece. Yes, it sure will. Look. Now, of course, these aren't the pictures, but now I feel like we can mark where the photos will go. I thought I had a better pen. There we go. Okay. Now, what you could do too is, if you know it's going to go like this, you could make a little line right here. I'm not going to do that but you could, and what you could also do is make a little note for yourself with a little arrow that the photos go horizontally. And I know it looks a little crazy, but remember, it's going to be covered up with a photo. Okay, so that tells you the photos go that way or that way. Okay. And then you can always pull these back out or try with your actual photos. And then this one, I can just use my pencil. Okay, there. All right, there's our start. Leave that right there. Once the page is marked, now we can remove all the pieces and move on to step 2. Okay, we are going to move on. We're on to step 2, and we're going to get ready to stamp all over our background. Now, you may wonder why we didn't just go ahead and do that first. Well, because it's not going to be necessary to stamp back here where the photos are, or in here where the middle is. So you almost had to do that first and just see what's going to happen here. And we're going to be stamping on these open areas. Okay, so let's take this off and just set it to the side for a second. And now we've got it marked and we remember that it's here. Okay, we remember. Now I have all these Stampin' Up! Ink pads in all different kinds of greens. And so I am just going to use that. And this is my stamp set. Now certainly you don't have to do this step if you don't want to. If it's going to be messy looking, or it's just not your style, or maybe you don't have stamps, and for the stamped portions you were going to use stickers or something, don't feel forced, but it really does make a really pretty page. Okay, so I'm going to start with the color that's closest here and do some. I think what I'll do is, for a first stamp, instead of like stamping off the page, just to make sure that my stamp is nice and inked up, I think I'll stamp a little bit off of where it would be covered up anyway. Like so. Oh, good, that's nice. That stamps nicely. I think what I'll do is do this stamp with this ink color 3 times. Then I think I will do this stamp in a different ink color 2 more times. So I'm going to have 5 images of each stamps, but in 2 different colors. I think I'm going to be happy with that. And I think it will help create some balance as well. And some of you may wonder about using the Misty or the another like stamping platform, and I'm sure you could do that. There, that's 3. And then let me see. Let me do this lighter one. This gumball green. We'll see what this looks like, okay? Let me put him right here. Okay. Oh, they look pretty similar. That's okay. This one, you know what I think I'm going to do is go down off the page. Do I have a scrap of something? I guess I really don't. I'll use the back of this piece that I cut, the back of this A piece here, because that'll get put down anyway. Yeah, like that. I'll go off the page a little bit on that one, okay? That'll be fine. Good. Okay. Yeah, that's nice. I tipped it a little bit because the first one I had tipped, and then I wasn't sure if I really wanted it tipped. So if you do it somewhere else on the page, that usually makes it look like you meant to do that. So what I'm going to do is, let's see. I think what I'll do is continue the stamping with my other stamps and my ink. Okay, I have finished stamping. This looks really nice. Now I will say this. In the pattern, it says Versamark ink or a same color ink on purpose. It says it like that on purpose. And if you notice, I did not do that here. And you can barely tell the difference. You can barely tell the difference. There's like 3 or 4 different color greens. And really, if you had one color green and green cardstock, or just Versamark ink and any color cardstock, your results would be the same. So that's why I listed it as a same color or near color cardstock or Versamark, because really it really doesn't make a difference. Minimal supplies. Now at this point, this is where you may want to use an optional step. I am a huge fan, totally optional, but if you like sort of a messy look, a boho look, a kind of like a vintage feel, you know, artsy fartsy look, I am a huge fan of using matte acrylic paint on my layouts. And I use generally whatever the discount brand at Walmart or dollar store, whatever, and a palette knife. So I'm going to demonstrate it here, and then when you see that further on in the pattern, then you'll know what I mean. Now I just put some, let me scoot over here. I put some on my craft mat, or if you have a palette or just a piece of cardboard, and I just dab it down on so it's a nice flat layer. Let me see if I can try to show you. Of course, white on white, you can't see too well. There's barely any paint on there. And then I just, let's do it where it will actually be seen. You just drag, no pressure. I just drag it across the page. Okay, and it creates, now this is actually kind of cool because of the winter page. So it creates that sort of a, just that it's, I don't even know how to really describe it. Kind of, I guess, like a distressed look, a vintagey look. I just really like the way that looks. Okay, not very much. And I'm barely applying pressure there. And that's how it's done. And you saw I just used a drop. Now this paint, I'm almost positive I paid 50 cents for at Walmart. The palette knife, I think I got from Ranger. And it is a pretty good palette knife, but you can get, they have them in packs of whatever, all kinds of different stores. They're pretty common. Go into like the crafty, sort of artsy, painty section, probably right where the paint is, to be honest. And that's it. That's as quick as it is, and that's good enough for me. I just think it adds something to the page that takes care of when I say it just needs something. And now this is when I would use my baby wipes. I have my whole desk coated in these craft mats, and so then I can use baby wipes to clean them up, and a paper towel, and that's that. Or just a wash rag or something. Okay, again, that step is optional. And let's get our pages turned back around. Oops. Okay. And you should be able to see them pretty well. And now that we've taken care of the optional steps, here's our 4x6 photo one, and here's the ones that we laid out. And remember, they went this way. And now when we lay it down, it will look, ooh, and look, I can tell that this isn't right because the pattern doesn't match up. Yep. So glad I did that. Okay, that's where I want that. Maybe. Here's what I'm going to say. Make sure that the top and bottom of your layout, your double page spread, make sure they're lined up at the top and bottom. There. And there. And I'm going to put this right up against the seam, because when they're together, see how that looks? Okay. Now I can adhere them down. And while that's like that, I'm going to adhere this left one first. Was this how I had it? I forget. It's not. Okay. Are they lined up? Mm-hmm. Okay. Line them back up. Line this up just like that. Okay. And now I can put this right on top of that, just like that. I've got a little reminder of what pictures will go, and I can add my pictures later. This is, I mean, today I'm making this for the demo with Christmas paper, obviously. And I'm thinking to myself how nice this would be to make like at any point during the year or to give as a gift. And then when the holiday is over, you can just slap your pictures down and you have a completed album. Very nice. Okay, we're ready to move on to step 3. We're now on to step 3. And step 3 calls for one of the 8.5 by 11 pieces of cardstock, and the stamping or the scrap paper for stamping practice, and the sentiment stamp that we chose, and then the ink for stamping. So I'm gonna make sure, where is my, make sure that I have my die nearby. I don't need it just yet. We're gonna make sure we can stamp at least 12 times on this one sheet of cardstock. Now, if we can fit, it says leave enough room to cut out each sentiment or to die cut out each sentiment. Now, if we can fit 13 or more, that is going to be great. So let's see how we're going to do this. I think I might just go with, well, you know what? I never get to use my colored archival inks. So I definitely like these inks. I'm trying to think of my color choices, my paper color choices. I think I'm going to go ahead and use that red. I think that might look kind of good. Black also looks good all the time. I don't know where my, oh, it's right here. And my black, But I do have navy though. No, I'm gonna go ahead and do it with the red. I like that idea, and that was what I thought of first. Now, depending on your stamp, you may also need a an acrylic block. Since, I mean, it just depends. Or you could use a stamping platform if you want. Ooh, you know what? That might be nice. Especially, well, this one should stamp okay. No, no, it'll be easier to do it with, actually without. Yeah, because I'm going to try to get so many on here. It doesn't really make a difference if you use a stamping platform or not. It's your preference. So let me rub my hand on here. Okay. I don't really think, I have not used this stamp out of the set before, have I? I can't believe it. I just got my little code tape on it. I thought I did use it before. Oh well. All right, here we go. Now, of course, if we mess up, what we'll do is just with our pencil, we're going to cross that one out and then just turn over the, we'll just add more. Okay, no big deal. That's great. Very, very nice. Nice, nice, nice. Nice and crispy. Ooh, I see I'm getting some ink on my fingers. Oh, I see why. Because look, because I got it on the outside. Okay, well, clean that off then. Okay, so we're going to continue to go ahead and do this all the way. Again, we're going to try to get, I wonder if we'll be able to get 12. Do you think? That stamp's great. I give full credit to the quality of the cardstock and the this archival ink. That one is not as good. See how it kind of bled compared to the other ones? That one is not as good. I don't love it. So I'm going to go like that. And then I'm just going to remember, that doesn't count, okay, with my mix. I mean, it's just paper, so, you know. Here's why I'm leaving the camera on. I want to see if I can do 3 across. If so, that will tell me what I can do here in terms of how many. Oh, easily I could do 3 across. All right, so with that being said, even if I messed up one time in each row, I'd still get 12. So I'm going to fill this whole page up with this sentiment stamp. And then, let's see, back to step 3, it says, if you mess up, cross out the messed up image with a pencil. Once you cut out the 12 sentiments, you can try to stamp again on the back of the mess up. Cut out the sentiments with a paper trimmer. Now, we could do that. I think when I made the pattern, I didn't use a stamp that had a die, a sentiment stamp that had a die. But because I have this, what I'll do is use a paper trimmer to trim down right here, and then to trim down this column right here. And then I'll use my Big Shot, my Sizzix, to go through and die cut these out. And I'm going to have some extras ready to go too. So then I will continue to stamp, and then I'll show you where we're at when we're die cutting. So I've finished with my stamping on the paper, and now I am going to cut this into, now honestly, if you don't have the die, because I do plan to die cut this out individually, but if you don't, you could just simply just cut right, use your paper trimmer and just cut them out, turn them, cut them, cut them, cut them. But because I'm going to die cut them, I'm going to start with the paper trimmer, cut them into columns, and then take the matching die over and die cut them out individually. So I have found another yogurt container, and as I was die cutting, or if you were cutting yours by hand, then I can keep all my sentiments in the yogurt container. This is the one I messed up on, and if I really wanted to, I could turn it over right here and attempt to stamp another one. But I have plenty. I have far more than, well, I shouldn't say far more, but I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 11, 12, 13. I have 14, so I'm good, I think. And it says to toss all scraps from step 3, so these are going in the trash. We're going to move on to step 4. Let's locate the leftover piece of pattern A, which would look something like that. This was from clear in the beginning, remember? When we had our pattern A. We're going to trim a 1-inch strip off of the shorter end, and I'm following the same instructions that you have, okay? Oh, I remember this step. Okay, we're going to trim a 1-inch strip off the shorter end. Okay, now again, this is going to depend on, of course, you know, your paper trimmer, how it looks. You might cut from this way, you might cut from the bottom. I don't know how your paper trimmer is. We're going to cut a 1-inch strip off the shorter end, okay? So I measure in, where is my 1-inch mark? Trim a 1-inch mark. Look at that. Since I changed the blade, huge difference. Alrighty. Then we're going to turn the paper and trim a 1-inch strip off the long end. Okay. 1 inch. And take your time. Make sure you're at the 1-inch mark and make sure that it's straight. Okay. And now let's turn the paper again and trim a 1-inch strip off the short end. And again, we're going to take our time. Let me put these in so you can see where we're at. Okay, there we go. Okay. Now we're going to turn the paper again, and we are going to keep doing this, just turning and trimming 1 inch. And turning and trimming 1 inch. Now eventually we're going to end up with nothing except a 1-inch square. If it works right. 1 inch. Turn it. 1 inch. Turn it. Okay. 1 inch. Turn it. 1 inch. Run out of room. Turn it. I'm trying to line this up, but my paper gets so small. Yep. And the last one is 1 inch. And it's a square. And then we have a 1 inch. Now that is amazing, isn't it? Okay, good. We did that right. Now we should have, repeat until there's no more paper at all. Lay all these 1 inch pieces in stair step order off to the side. We should have 12 pieces total. Oh, well, we almost did lay them out to stair step order. But let me show you what we'll do here. Let's move this whole thing. Okay. They're almost in stair step order, basically. Good. And there should be 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Woo! If you have a piece, if you have a sticky note, stick it to the pile and label it pattern A. Well, here's what we'll do. We're going to go like this. We're going to pick up the pile, starting with the littlest. Just like so. Well, maybe. Okay, pick up the pile, the littlest on top, like this. If you have a paper clip or a paper, like a clamp, I like to use, oh. Oh. Well, okay. There we go. I do like to use clothespins. I don't know why. They're just handy. I think because I don't crease the paper. Alrighty. And now I can get a little piece right here and say pattern A. And I will remember that. Okay. And now we're going to continue. We're still on step 4, probably about halfway through. So let's get one piece of 12 by 12 pattern B. Let's see where we're at. Pattern B. Okay, pattern B. Let's move this off to the side here. And cut it in half. That means we're going to get to this 6-inch mark right here, and we're going to cut it right in half. Make sure you're at the 6. And cut it in half. Set half aside, labeled pattern B. So let's set this one aside because that's the side the B stayed on. I'll put a B here just for me in case I have to get up and get something or whatever, I won't forget. Okay, then cut this half strip. Oh wait, I skipped something here. Locate one piece of pattern, cut in half, set half aside. Off of the remaining half, cut a 1/2 inch by 12. Ooh, I almost forgot to do that. Goodness. All right. 1/2 inch by 12. Now, I'm going to need to look at my trimmer and see where my half is at. All that adjusting, and what a miracle readers are that I just put on my glasses. Honest to goodness. All right. So this is B. Then it says, cut this 1/2 inch strip at the 4.5 inch mark. Cut this 1/2 inch strip at the 4.5 inch mark. 4.5. Okay. And here are the two pieces on the double page spread on top of pattern A. What? On top of pattern A. Oh, right. This. And pattern A is that snowman paper that we see. Oh my goodness. Yes. Look. Oh, how great. Are we adhering it? We are. That looks great. Oh my goodness. I love this. This is exactly why I love craft outfitting. I am not joking. Look. Look. We forgot all about this. We weren't even trying to do this. Oops. I definitely wasn't trying to do that. Look. That is awesome. I'm acting like I never saw this pattern before, and of course I've seen it before, but it looks so good every time. Cut another 1/2 by 12-inch strip and set aside. Okay, let's do that. Who knows when we're going to use it. 1/2 by 12. Now I still have my glasses on, so this should be a little bit easier. Okay. Let's see. I hope my head isn't in the picture. Okay. There we go. 1/2 inch. I am definitely going to label this B. And it says to set aside. Well, I have a bunch of strips over here by pattern A, so I'm going to leave them there. What's next? We're still in step 4. Turn the paper and cut a 1-inch strip off the short end. Oh, ha, 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 ha. I know what's coming. I know what's coming with pattern B. This 1/2 inch, I'm going to leave it there, but I know what's coming. Okay. Turn the paper and cut a 1-inch strip off the short end. Now, I bet you know what's coming. I bet you know what's coming. A 1-inch off the short end. Uh-huh. Then what? Turn the paper again and cut a 1-inch off the long end. This is so exciting. Okay. A 1-inch off the long end. And now what? Repeat until you cannot make any more cuts. The smallest piece will be a 1-inch square. Alrighty, we know how to do this. We've just done it. We're gonna take our time. We're gonna make sure that they're at 1-inch cuts. Turn, cut, line it up. We're gonna take our time. We don't need to label these because they're all gonna go together. I mean, when we set them to the side, they'll all go together. Okay. We don't need to label them individually like here while we're cutting. We'll just, oh no! Look what happened. Oh no. Look. I think this may have screwed up. Because I was talking. Oh no. Okay. It did. That was not right. That was not right. But I think I have a fix. Now, we did not end up with a cube at all. And we ended up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Goodness. We're going to cut. Now, here is the fix if this happens to you. okay? I feel bad that it happened during the video, but in a weird way, I'm glad it happened. So now if this happens to you, here's the fix, okay? You can see that they're about to go in stair-step order. And the pattern A, remember, they went in stair-step order. Here we have 2 that are the same length here and 2 that are the same length here. Let's take the longest 2 here. Let's cut the 1-inch square that we need at the very end. Okay, we know we're going to need a 1-inch square at the end. Boom. Now, let's add him at the very end. And how many pieces do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right? Right? Now let's take the other 2 that are the same length. And let's cut them at the 2-inch mark. Now again, these are totally on the fly instructions. This is for the fix. This is for the fix. There we go. And there is our fix. It's a little rough, but you will be okay. All right, you're gonna be okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're supposed to end up with 10, okay, with the smallest piece as a 1-inch square. So let's pick them up in stair-step order. You've still got a couple that are the same length. Whoops. These should have been, I should have laid them out in stair-step order. So I can't believe I'm not even following my own instructions. That's okay. I know what this is. If there's any place to mess up on the instructions, it's on this step. Okay? If there is any place to mess up, it's on this step, just so you know. Okay, and let me go like this, and we're going to label this pattern B. All right, no problems, everybody, no problems. Okay. We are still on step 4. We're going to cut the remaining 6 by 12 piece of pattern B, which I have right here, into 2 6 by 6 squares. Where is the 6? Okay, there's 2 6 by 6 squares. We're going to make sure they're each labeled B. That one's labeled B. And then we are going to locate that 5 by 5. I labeled that. Do you remember before? I just happened to have labeled it 5 by 5. We're going to adhere it on top of the one of the 6 by 6 squares. As such. After I file that down. I don't like the way, ooh, I don't like the way that looks. Oh, because that's when I needed to change my blade. I remember. Okay. So we'll adhere this on top of here. Okay, great. I'm just eyeballing it. Okay. Okay, we have a piece of color number 2 that's left over. It should be 7 inches by 12 inches. All right, and it is. Okay, great. So what we're gonna do is let's set this little thing aside. Let's cut and make a 7 by, cut the remaining piece into a 7 by 7 square. Where is the 7? There you are. Oh, is that the 7? Yeah. Okay, there is the 7. There is the 7. And now what we do is we put this right on top. This is color 2, we know that. We're not done with it. But we are going to adhere this right on top. Do you know what might be nice right here? I was just thinking. I didn't put this in the instructions, but I can tell you in the video. It might be nice if you wanted to use some distress ink right here, and distress ink around this edge and distress ink around this edge, or if you wanted to like if you wanted to do anything to the edges of the paper, like kind of if you have a paper distresser, you know, or if you just sort of drag your scissors along, I don't know, just if you're thinking of doing anything to the edges, I think now would be the time before we adhere this down. And I didn't put that in the pattern, in the written part of the pattern, but it kind of just crossed my mind just now. So just as a note. Okay. There we go. And I'm just eyeballing this. Looks like this is a little bit off with the eyeball, but you know what we can do is turn it if we want it like that. And then it doesn't look so much off. Okay, good. Now we can set that aside. Now we can, let's see, put that over here. And now it says to cut the remaining, oh, we did that, into a 7x7 square, adhere to the bottom of the frame, set aside, cut remaining piece of pattern B. I better label this color 2 now that I think about it, because I don't see anything. And let's see, color 2. All right. And now cut remaining piece of pattern B into 2x2 squares, plural, and set aside. Okay, 2x2 squares, no problem. Where is my 2-inch mark? Right there. 2x2 squares, that I can do. All of that of pattern paper B. Okay, 2x2 squares, 2 inches and 2 inches. Oh, and 2 inches. Okay, and it should be 2, 2. It's a lot of them. Okay. Oh, good. Oh, good. I like when it ends up perfect. Good. 2 and 2. And then 2 and 2. Good. Very, very good. And my last one has a B on it. And so I can remember that all these are B 2x2 squares. Very nice. Okay, so at this point, just before we start the next step, so you should have a color 2 piece that looks like that. You should have a pile of 2x2 B squares. You should have a frame that looks like this. We've got our collected strips, stair step strips of pattern B and pattern A. We've got a random strip right here of B. And we've got our work in progress here of our double page spread. It's coming along very well. I like that there aren't too many scraps. That's also what makes craft outfitting different from a one sheet wonder, because in a one sheet wonder you cut everything and you have all scraps and then you deal with your scraps. And this, it keeps your scraps to a minimum because we still haven't touched all those other big full-size pieces yet. So this is easy to contain. Let's move this off to the side. It's good for crops. It's good for if you have to start and stop a lot, you can keep your pace together. The next, step 5, is the most time-consuming step of the entire pattern. So we are going to take one of the 8.5 by 11 pieces of white cardstock, and we're going to cut it vertically in half. Which means that we're cutting at the 4 1/4 mark. All right. Then we're going to prepare to stamp the images. We're going to be stamping at least 12 images, but we're going to fill as much of these 2 white halves as possible. And we're going to be mindful of the die cutting room because we're going to be coloring in the images and then die cutting them out, but we're also going to be using the negative space of this paper. So if possible, what we need to do is stamp the images in a kind of a pattern. This, I don't know what I'm doing here with my trimmer. So when I do this now, I'm going to need at least 12. That is not going to be a problem. I'm going to be stamping and then, well, these aren't really ones where I would color. Like, I think in one of the other patterns, I used an image that I could color in, and so then I used my markers and stuff like that. See how when I was stamping up here, the image that they stamp is a solid filled in image. So there isn't really anything for me to color. Now I could choose to do to stamp this on this paper and die cut them out and be fine. I do different kinds of ink and different colors. I could use watercolor crayons on the back here, or gelatos, and then do like a watercolor type image. It would be fine. But I'm imagining Christmas cards with these ornaments, and I think it would be gorgeous if they were embossed in gold embossing powder. So I'm going to use a dryer sheet to sort of prep the paper. I know this is so not conventional, but I don't have an anti-static powder tool. I just don't. I'd love one, but I don't know why I never buy one. So a dryer sheet works for me for now. Then what I'll use is Versamark ink, and I have 2 gold embossing powders, and I think they are both from Stampin' Up, as a matter of fact. And so what I'll do, let's do one at a time. We're going to try to stamp this in a pattern of some sort, and we need to get at least 12. That's not going to be a problem. And I don't want any images hanging off the end because I'm actually going to die cut them, which means that when I do this, I have to leave room for die cutting. I have to leave room for the die to actually get around the outside of each of the images. Okay. So I also kind of want to make, be mindful to try to make some sort of pattern in the paper. Now, because it's Versamark ink, it will stay wet for a little while, so I can get away with doing a couple of these before I emboss. And then I'm gonna do embossing ink here. Ooh. Embossing ink. I said ink and I meant powder. Okay. This is going to be gorgeous. All right, very nice. Now, put that to the side. Heat up my heat tool. Okay, wonderful. Whoops, almost forgot that. All right, great. Ooh, yikes, still sticky. Let's see. Why? Why still sticky? Because it didn't get all the way melted. It had been then. Don't want that. All right. Okay, good. Much better. Lovely. Looks really good. All right, I'm going to repeat that on this other side, okay? Okay, we have finished with the stamping and embossing. Now again, this is going to vary depending on the stamp and die set that you have. I've done this pattern several other times while I was getting it right, and each time I used a different die and stamp set or I changed one variable. And so the one time I used a stamp set, colored it in with markers, had the dies to match. You know, there's all kinds of possibilities, but isn't that just beautiful? This stamp set just didn't really yield a chance to color in with markers. I mean, I suppose I could in these little areas, but I think the gold emboss is just beautiful, just beautiful. Also, we stamped according to a pattern, and we are going to maintain this pattern when we die cut. Did I even use this one? Oh, maybe I did. So I have this yogurt container, right? And I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna die cut out each of these shapes, and then I'm gonna hang on to these pieces with the shape holes cut out, because later we'll use the negative space, okay? So I am not going to use this as part of the video. I'm using my Sizzix Big Shot, and I will die cut these out, and then we'll move on to step 6. Okay, here's what it looks like when I have die cut out all of the shapes. So we've got these 2 pieces with the die cut holes. I've got my two yogurt containers with my sentiments in one and my ornaments in another. And I'm going to tell you, this is a little time consuming. I mean, even though I wasn't even coloring in the images, it did take me some time, because, you know, you want to be real careful to cut them out so that they're nice, that they don't run into each other and whatever. So that's going to take you just a little bit of time. I actually thought it was the most time-consuming step of the whole process. But we're going to put that aside and actually move on to step 6. So don't throw these out. These are not junk. These are actually part of a step for later. We'll put that off to the side. And now for step 6, we locate one piece of color 2. So this is the color 2. And then we have pattern D. Now, and our paper trimmer. First, we're going to trim this color 2 to 11 3/4 by 11 3/4. We're actually going to measure it to 11 3/4 at the 11 3/4 mark and cut it. And again, Now, I know the pattern may not say to save these little strips, but I always do until the end just because. And then 1/4 turn, 1/4 turn. Now you may wonder why I go ahead and do that. I actually do that, hold on, I don't want to mess up here. 12, 11 3/4. Okay. I do that even in my own personal scrapbooking because sometimes albums and page protectors are not true to 12 by 12. And just sometimes when you load a bunch of pages, true 12 by 12 into an album, even if it's just shy by like 5/8 of an inch or something, then your pages start to go like buckle like this. So I find that just starting off with the 11 3/4 by 11 3/4 base will yield a better layout, a literal laying out. All right, next we're gonna take the pattern D, and we're gonna cut a 9 by 9 square, a 9 by 9 square. Now it doesn't give you any specific way to cut, which means that if that's true, it's pretty specific. When I want to be specific with you in a pattern, I am specific with you in a pattern. But if it doesn't make much of a difference, then I leave that up to you. So we're going to find the 9-inch mark. I'm going to go straight here. Before I get this too far away from me, I'm going to make sure to label it D. And then I'm going to turn it and do right here at the 9-inch mark again and make my 9-inch square and label that D. Okay? Here's my 9-inch square. Let's see what it says next. Lay the 9 by 9-inch square on top of the color number 2 scrapbook page base. Okay, so we'll save these 2 D pieces. I'm going to get my number 2. I'm going to lay this right on top. That looks lovely. All right, very nice. Are we laying or are we adhering yet? We are just laying. Locate the 5 by 7 color 2 piece from step 1. That would be this. Okay. And it should be 5 by 7. 5 by 7. Good. All right. Yay. And so we have this and the strips cut from patterns A and B. Here are our strips cut from patterns A and B, remember? Okay. First, set aside the, oh, I see, we're going to have to do some things. All right. Let me get, so that you can still see me, but that it's not, all right, we are going to need a little bit of room, I think. Okay. First, set aside the 3 longest strips from pattern A and the 2 longest strips from pattern B to use in a later step. All right, so the 3 longest strips, 1, 2, 3. These are for later and these are pattern A. But they do not say pattern A, only the one does, so I better label that. A, okay. And the 2 longest strips from pattern B. 1, 2. Okay. Hopefully they say B. If not, we will label them B. B, and this one was also B. All right, good. Now we'll set these aside for later. All right. With these, then choose 3 of the remaining strips of pattern B and 2 of the remaining strips of pattern A to adhere to the top of the 5 by 7 piece of color number 2. I'm going to move this off to the side for a minute. So we have 3 of B. Three of B. 1. I guess 2 and 3, like that maybe. Okay, whatever. Put these back on pattern B. And how many of A? 2 of A. All right, well, let's choose the... You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to choose one of these. It seems like I have 2 that are the same. So let me choose this one that's the same here and this one that's like that. Okay, that'll be fine. And then I'll keep this real long one. I'm choosing these randomly. I'm not choosing the baby ones because it wouldn't even come close to covering it. Okay. Okay. As you arrange the strips, alternate the patterns, and if your pattern paper is double-sided, make sure to have some that are sharing that double-sided so that you'd end up with more patterns facing out. Okay, once the strips are adhered, turn over and trim off the excess, and we're going to throw away the excess. I'm going to go like this and adhere it to the smooth side. This cardstock, this color number 2, is textured. And so I'm actually going to adhere it to the smooth side and not the textured side. Okay. Now, since I already turned those snowman that way, let me keep them going the same way. Okay, very good. Very good. Okay, now that we've got our piece covered in the strips, we're going to put the rest of these strips aside and locate the heart-shaped template that was included with the pattern. Now, if you just printed it off with the pattern and cut it out of your printer paper, it probably looks like this, and that is fine. I keep one shape in black cardstock all the time, just nearby. As a matter of fact, I have 3 of them and I just keep them nearby. But whatever yours looks like is fine. Now what we're going to do is trace the heart shape on the back of this frame. Now when we go to cut this heart out, we're actually going to cut a hole out. We're going to cut a hole out. This is going to be a photo frame. Where is a photo that I can show you what we're saying? Here. This is going to be a photo frame, okay? But you will not see in the photo frame that there is a heart shape cut out of it. So we're going to cut out the heart shape and use it elsewhere on the page. Alrighty? When we go to do this, now see, I want the snowman to be in this part of the heart when I do it later. Now, in order to cut out the heart shape, we're actually going to cut through one corner because we're going to cut it out with our scissors. So you want to position the heart shape the way that you're going to want to cut through. Alrighty? So because I want it like this, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to have it like that. Am I? Like this. I want it like this. Okay. Definitely like this. So I'm going to try as much as I can when I place this to have the corner pointing toward a corner, not just straight or whatever, because then I'm going to have to circle around with my scissors. So do you see what we're going to be doing is the way we're going to cut this out once we trace it is we're going to cut right through this corner and then just start to cut the heart shape out. And then we're going to lay the frame back together with the part that we cut. We're going to just tape it right down. You'll never know. Let's just do that, okay? I'm only saying that because it matters. You don't want to put your heart just somewhere, anywhere. Okay, there. Here we go. Now, this is the only corner cut through, and I'm going to cut right through and keep going. Turn the paper. Don't like seesaw the scissors, okay? Turn the paper. There we go. Turn the paper, turn the paper. Right. Keep going nice and smooth. And that's it. Boom. Now, look. See how that lays like that? It really doesn't matter if you did it like this or like this. I had forgotten that I had said that it was going to be solid. So we've got the 9x9 pattern D here. We're going to lay this strip side down. That's what it says in your pattern. Just somewhere on the 9x9. I always like it in the top right corner. I think that looks really good. Let me get that. That's just our sample picture out of the way. And we're going to adhere it down with the regular adhesive, like so. And I need to change my, I need to change my tape. Alrighty, so I'm going to put this in the, I like that right there, in the upper right corner. Look, and you just really don't see that little piece like that. Doesn't that look nice? That is beautiful. All right, this will be a mat for a horizontal 4x6 photo, which we know, and we're gonna adhere that to the 9x9 square, which we did. Then we're gonna arrange the square on the base page in the upper right portion of the page. And just like so. Oh, that looks so good. Doesn't that look good? Just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay. And do you see what I mean about needing refills for your adhesive? When you sit down to do craft outfitting, don't just have like, you know, one little glue stick or whatever. Come prepared with a few refills of adhesive, and then it's truly in one sitting. You can make all this stuff in one sitting. Okay. Pretty good. Pretty good. All right, I'm going to leave just a little bit of a lip there, maybe, what is that, about a 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, about a 1/2 inch or so. But see, I want it to be the same. I want, however much I left here, I'm going to leave here. Okay? So as you're putting that down and eyeballing, same thing here. However much I leave here on this 9x9, I'm going to leave out on the top. Otherwise, it looks a little bit funny. Now, what I can do is this is my accent piece for right there. And now let's just, this isn't the picture, but let's just say, look at the winter. Look at the snowman. Look how it all coordinates. I love it. I love it. We are going to, let's see, adhere. Then I'm going to adhere the heart accent using dimensional adhesive foam. But again, if you want to do something to the outside edge of this, now would be the time. If you want to add some distress ink or something like that, you know, you can, or some paint or something like that, whatever. I have this roll of dimensional adhesive foam. This is from Creek Bank Creations. And so I'm going to use that. I really like it a lot because you can tear it. I hesitate to say that it is terrible because it's not terrible. It's just able to be torn. And it really is, I mean, sticky. But I do like that you can tear it, honestly. Because then you can get in those tiny little bits and pieces that maybe you didn't anticipate correctly. There. And you may have another favorite foam tape. That's fine. Ooh, oh, that's why, because it's the start. Well, oh my goodness. Yeah, sticky. I should have used some undo just to be able to handle it. Good grief. If you don't want your projects to move, this is the stuff you want. That's annoying. Now, you know what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a little bit of a balance, or like, I don't want it to like be floating down here. So I'm actually going to bring it up a little bit, right, like that. That looks outstanding. That is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful page. Okay, very nice. Now, again, the option here is that if we wanted to, we could, what happened to my paint? We could add some paint. Or I keep coming back to this oxide, that iced spruce, or this frayed burlap. These oxides. That's what the color will look like. Oh, I have a brand new thingy on there. It's gonna be that one. I just really want to. So I'm going to. That's what I'm gonna do. This is not in your pattern probably, but I'm just showing you a few other options while I'm making the page that you could do. So I'm putting that on my craft mat. Can you see that? Okay, good. And then I'm going to spray this with some water like that. Oops. And then the same way I use the paint, I think I'm just going to use my palette knife and do it with the, is this going to be okay here? Do we want to? It's a little bit wet. I don't think I'm going to like that. Not like that, at least. So let's not do it wet like that. Let's do it, yeah, because I don't like the way that looks. But I like the way that oxide looks. So instead, I'm just going to use my ink blending tool instead of trying to use it with the water. Let me do that instead. I know I'm going to like this. Oops. So you can see. Yeah, I'm going to like that a lot better. Very nice. I should have done that on that heart. I even thought about doing it and I thought, oh no, I don't want to do it on the video. Well, maybe I do want to do it on the video. totally a preference. Maybe you don't like to ink on your scrapbook pages. Maybe, in your opinion, this messes up the scrapbook page. But, you know, that's sort of the beauty of craft outfitting, is that craft outfitting gives you a head start. It's not a sketch sheet. It's not my page is going to look the exact identical same every single time. Sketch sheets also have that same potential where they don't look the same every single time necessarily. But sometimes it's tricky when you're doing a sketch to figure out where to cut the paper, where to start, what patterns go with what patterns. And so yeah, good. That's really nice. Not sure if you've ever tried using ink on your pages, or maybe you've just never thought to ink around the outside edge of a scrapbook page. If you don't have oxide ink, certainly any of your inks will do. Any of your inks will do. To just go around, and dang it if I didn't already do that, but that's okay. I'm just going to add a little just to the outside edges right like that. Make it look like I meant to. Okay. That's fine. Very nice. Very, very nice. Now see, that looks better to me. It might look messy and not good to you, but it looks better to me. Very nice. We are now going to put this aside and move on to step 7. In step 7, we are going to cut 3 8.5 by 11 pieces of our white cardstock vertically in half. That is going to be at the 4 1/4 mark. Where is my, I'm going to need this in a second. All right. After we do that, we're going to score. Now this, the scoring part is optional, because that's certainly not something you have to do. Okay. So right in half, and then what I do, I had a piece of paper stuck in there from before. There we go. Then what I do is I turn it sideways, still using my paper trimmer. And I turn it, and at the 5 1/2 inch mark, I score right there. If you don't have one of these, you could use a stylus, or you could even use like, I don't know, the top of a pen or a pencil or something. Not something that marks, don't make a mark, but just, you're just trying to make a score line. All right. Of course, you certainly don't have to score. You could just fold it right in half, but the score line sure does make the folding part a lot easier. Okay. So if we cut these 3 pieces in half, we would end up with 6 card bases. So we're going to go ahead and do that, folding the card bases, and then we will continue on with step 7. As you do it, remember you're going to have a top folding card base. That's what you're looking for. Cutting the piece in half, and then turning those pieces to score or just to fold and make the card base. Okay, we've got the 6 card bases cut already. Okay, so we're gonna set these just off to the side there. And then we're still on step 7. Locate one 12 by 12 piece of cardstock in color 3. This was the color 3 that we chose. And we're going to cut 3 pieces measuring 4 by 12. So we have 4, 4, 4. Okay? 4, 4, and 4. Oh, I'm glad I wanted to use the textured side on that. That's going to look good. 4, 4, And just to check, I don't just assume, because you never know, this may not be a 12 by 12, and it is. Okay, good. 4, 4, and 4. Then, and sorry this is like brown on tan. I didn't think of that ahead of time. Then we're going to cut each of these 3 pieces into 6 panels, measuring 5 1/4 by 4. So if they're already 4 this way, then we're going to cut it 5 1/4 and 5 1/4. All right. So just like this, 5 1/4. Let's see, where do I already have it marked? 5 1/4 here. Okay, 5 1/4 here. And 5, we don't have to label this, okay? And 5 1/4 here. Hang on to him, all right? So we're gonna make 2 little, they're not really piles, I guess, but just note that we're gonna have these pieces and then these little rectangles. And you should be ending up with 3 rectangles left over. There's 5 1/4. 5 1/4 and a little rectangle, okay, and then 5 1/4 and 5 1/4 and a little rectangle. Good. And the instructions say that you should have 3 rectangle scraps left over, which we do. Place these 3 rectangle scraps on the scrapbook double page spread from step 1. So most of the rectangle will be sticking out from underneath of the left 3 horizontal photos. Here is our spread. Let's see where our photos would be. Okay, we marked it. But let me find my little trial photos, okay? Just so we have a good... All right, so if we have most of it sticking out from underneath here, most of it... Oh, I want the textured side up. Okay, most of it sticking out from underneath here and most of it sticking out from underneath here. All right, good. That'll be fine. Now, how does that look if we have photos? Oh, not that good. We need more of it. Most of it, it says. Most of it will be sticking out. Okay, yeah, we need more of it. More of it. And let me do this because I would like it to line up nicely and not have it all funny. Let's do this even. There we go. Right up against. Okay, good. And are they in the center of where the photos would be? First I was looking to see, are they going to line up here? Now I'm looking to see, is it in the center of where this photo would go? Is it in the center of where this photo would go and this photo would go? All right, good. Good, 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 good. Now, do I stick this down yet? When you are satisfied with the spacing, adhere the 3 scrap rectangles to the double page spread. I sure will. I sure will. Right there, I can see it right there. Okay. Right there. Okay, 4 and 8, good. That one is at 13, 17, okay. 13, 17. 13, 17, okay, right there. And then this one is at 23, 27. Alrighty. 23 and 27. Okay. All right. Now see, another thing I love about craft outfitting is honest to goodness. You would never just on your own be like, oh, I'll just put 3 brown rectangles there. You just wouldn't necessarily. I mean, maybe you would, I wouldn't, but when I'm following a pattern, I'm like, oh yeah, that looks great like that. Okay, now we're going to, when we're satisfied with the spacing, and here are the 3 scrap rectangles, we did that. Oh, locate the 2x2 pattern B squares from step 6. I remember that we cut those 2x2 squares. Remember? B. Remember we called them all B. And we're going to adhere 1 square diamond style to the right side end of each of the 3 colored rectangle pieces. Oh my gosh. I even forgot what pattern that was. That looks so good. I'm going to leave, I chose them from the bottom so I could keep the B like that. Do we adhere them? I think we do. Adhere it. It says adhere it. I love it. I am even surprised. The element of surprise, to me, planned surprise, is very satisfying to me. So I really like that I forget what pattern I have made B, you know, because I keep them face down. Oops. I keep them face down. And then when it gets to that point in the pattern, when I turn it over, I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks so good. I am going to be mindful, though, that since these are stripes, yeah, I do want some, I don't want my eye to be all crazy. And I'm going to be mindful to try to get that corner right, the corner to line up here and the corners to be in the center of this brown thing. Okay. That's all I'm looking for. So nice. Okay, lining up with the triangle above it, or the diamond above it, and ooh, lining up in the center here and the point there. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. That looks fabulous. That looks fabulous. Okay, we're still on step 7. Prepare to stamp a background design on the remaining 6 panels. I think we can move, since we've got the 6 panels here, I think we are done for the moment with this. Okay. So just for the moment, prepare to stamp. You may want to choose to use Versamark ink and clear embossing powder to create your background, or you may choose an ink color close to the color of your color number 3 paper. When you're ready, stamp a background design as desired on each of the 6 panels. If you're using embossing powder, heat set the powder here. Adhere the stamp panels to each of the card bases and set aside. Oh, okay. Okay. So similar to how we did on the white, and where, well, no, not on the white, on the green before, when we stamped this background image with the stamps. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on these panels. That creamy caramel, that looks good. Actually, that's perfect. So let me move, I think I'll do these one at a time, because if I and let's see, if you are fairly new to stamping, don't forget to be mindful to stamp off of the page, like yeah, I can't tell if this is really inked or not. I'll try it on the back. Oh, I forgot. There's a smooth side and a textured side. Oh, that's even better. All right, let me just try it on this side I'm not going to use. I'm just trying it. Okay. Oh, that looks good. All right. I'm happy with that. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to stamp just, I don't want to say it's randomly, but it kind of is random. Okay. And I'm just going to do that with the stamps that I desire, however I want, in whatever order I want. I'm going to keep, I see I need to keep a baby wipe here to wipe off my craft mat so I don't get ink all over everything. And I'm just going to have a good little time here for a second playing with my stamps. Okay. Okay, so I have stamped on the back. I have actually stamped on the front of the panels, but I just want to show you something. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this really good in the light or not. I will try to tip it so maybe you can see. Oh yeah, I guess that's a good angle, huh? Look at the textured cardstock and then the way the stamp lays on the textured cardstock. That is so neat. Really nice. So next, we are still on, let's see, we're on the very, very end of step 7, where it says the very last 2 sentences, adhere the stamp panels to the card bases and set aside. Now, if you didn't already know, these card bases that we cut earlier, these panels fit right on top of the card bases perfectly. Isn't that wonderful? You see, we're cutting in, you didn't even know. So now you can adhere one panel to each one of the cards. And then what we're going to do after that is move on to step 8. Step 8 starts out by taking these 3 remaining pieces and cutting them vertically in half again, and coming up with your 6 additional card bases. So once you once you adhere these to this, okay, and you'll have your 6 card bases, then the next step is to take the remaining 3 white pieces, cut them in half, fold those, and end up with your final 6 card bases as such. Okay, so go ahead and do that. You can pause the tutorial here if you want. We've cut our card bases. We're now on to about the middle of step 8. We found our pattern C paper, and we're going to cut a 1 by 12 inch strip off of the edge of pattern C. Okay, so we're going to get into this. Let's see where our 1 inch mark is, right there. Okay. All right, now we're going to label this C and set it aside. Now, before you move anything, okay, just think that now this edge is still 12 inches, okay? It's still 12 inches this way. You can see it in your paper cutter. This is the 11-inch edge because you just cut this away. So now this right here is your 11-inch edge. Now, it says off the 11-inch edge, we're going to cut 3 pieces, each measuring 11 inches by 4 inches. So we need it to be 11 inches by 4. We need it to be 4, 4, and 4. Okay? Now, before you go to cut, if you're not sure and you just lost track of what you were doing, I'm going to line this up to the 4-inch mark, right? But before I cut, I'm like, uh-oh, am I cutting it at 11 inches? And I could just hold my ruler right there and be like, yep. I mean, I know I could see it right here on my paper trimmer that it says 11 inches, and that's good too, but if you just need to see it again, okay? So we're going to cut 11 I just lost my step. There we go. 11 by 4. We need 3 pieces like that. So here's at 4. I better label it. Okay, now we're just going to slide it and do it at 4. And now we're going to do it at 4, and we don't have to because it's already cut. Great. Now we're going to cut 6 panels, each measuring 5 1/4 by 4. Now this is the same thing as we did before. 5 1/4, 5 1/4, 5 1/4, and we've got this little strip left. Remember we did this before, but just with different paper, and the strips that we ended up with were much bigger. They were those rectangles. All right, do we do it on all of them? 6 panels, yes. 5 1/4. Okay, 5 1/4, 5 1/4, and a little teeny tiny piece. Okay, and then 5 1/4, and then 5 1/4, and a teeny tiny piece. Now, you should have 3 small strips left over, which we do. Throw out these 3 small strips. Throw out these 3 small strips. If that makes you nervous, okay, if it makes you nervous, you can put them in the junk pile with these other strips that have made you nervous about throwing out. I know who you are. I know who you are. So if it makes you nervous, just save it to the end and you'll see. You could choose at the very, very, very end. But if you're at a crop or something, your space is limited, just know you can go ahead and throw those out. Adhere the 6 panels to the front of the 6 cards. Now, if the panel C that you chose, if the pattern C that you chose is double-sided paper, now you can alternate and put some of one pattern and some of another pattern. You can just alternate. I forgot this was my pattern. It looks so good. So now we'll put this, okay, on each one of these, just like we did before. Just like we did before. And then we will move on to step 9. We are now beginning step 9, and it says to locate a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock in color number 3. We do have this one left. We're going to cut 3 pieces measuring 3 1/2 by 12. Okay, 3 1/2 by 12. So now we're going to look at this 3 1/2 inch mark. Okay. And how many pieces? 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3. All right, and then what do we do with this? Set aside the scrap strip. No problem. Turn each larger piece and cut at the 4 1/2 inch mark to yield 6 small panels. 4 1/2, 4 1/2, 4 1/2. How many? 6 small panels. Save scrap squares. Okay, 1, and then another 4 1/2, 2. Okay, we'll save that. 4.5, 3, 4. We'll save that. 5, 6, and we'll save that. Okay, now what? Adhere the 6 small panels on top, that would be these, not the scraps, on top of each of the 6 cards from step 8. And that would be these. How will that look? That will look magnificent. Wonderful. Okay, that will look magnificent. Let's set these aside. Magnificent. We're going to carefully trim. Now we might need to use scissors if we need to. The negative space from the die cuts into 6 pieces, each measuring 3.5 by 2.5. 3.5 by 2.5. First of all, where did I put them? They are right here, off to the side. Now, I do not believe that these are 3.5 by 2.5 as right now. Let's see what they are, though. If I could turn the ruler the right way. They are 4.25. So we would have to do, let's see, 3.5. I lost my step. Oh, 3.5 by 2.5. So let's do this. Let's cut, to make this easy, let's use this trimmer and cut it into 3.5 this way. Let's cut off some excess, and then we can turn it and maybe use a different kind of trimmer, like a different kind of trimmer here. So let's do 3.5. I'm going to go like this. And I'm going to hold this down really, really good here. 3.5. Okay. I'm really going to press and go real careful. Oh, that wasn't as hard as it seemed like. Okay. I think we can toss those strips. These right here. Let me do the other one to 3.5. I'm looking for an edge. Let me find like a strong edge. This edge is strong and this edge is not as strong. So I'm going to do 3.5 and keep the strong edge. Okay. I'll start from the bottom this time. Really carefully. And I'm really, there we go. Uh-oh. That's what I wondered was going to happen. That's why it says carefully. Okay, push down really hard. I'm going to have to use scissors for that. I just already know. But I could see where I started, so I'm just going to nip that right like that. Okay, good. We'll get rid of that. Now I think I'm going to have better results to try to get a 2.5 if I use this. All right, and try to go 2.5, because I can see that a little bit better. And I'll put the strong edge on top. 2.5 is right here. Okay. 2.5. How many pieces am I trying to get? 6 pieces. All right. 1. Now, if this is all I got and this fell off, I'm not going to worry about him. 1. 2.5. 2. piece off of that. Here, let's try 2.5 here. Turn it around, try to do, because that's a strong one. Yep. 3. I don't know how strong this is going to be here. Ah! Okay, 4. Okay, good, good, good. Do we cut them both? Toss out the remaining die cut scraps. Okay, so whatever we don't use, we won't use. Then we throw out. Okay, good. Well, good. Now we'll cut them all into 2.5 and then see which ones turn out the best. That's what I was hoping for. Okay, that's exactly what I was hoping for. Let's do 2.5 here. Now we've got some choice. Like, yeah, we may not use one that looks a little funny. 2.5, 2.5. Okay. All right, and 2.5, and then we'll take a look, see, and see. Okay. And now it says to adhere the 6 pieces on top of the color 3 panels from the same step. So, oops, I had a problem in my drawer. So what we'll do is adhere this just like this on top, okay? Very nice. It looks good. I don't know if, yeah, maybe that better. Are there some that we're not gonna like? I don't know. We'll start with the ones we like the best. Okay, how about that? For this one, I think I'm gonna use some liquid glue. Now you might have a glue stick or some, I don't know, just a glue that you like. I'm using Nuvo Deluxe Adhesive. You do not need much. I also sometimes interchange this with the Wendy Vecchi card making adhesive. And right in the center it goes. You may think that looks stupid, but it doesn't look stupid. Wait until you see what happens. Just wait until you see what happens. So go through and just pick some. Again, we know they're scraps. We know they look like scraps because they are scraps, but it really adds something to each card, okay? So go through and cover all 6 of the cards just from this step. Okay, the cards just from this step, not the other cards. These are the ones, not the ones we stamped on, but just the plain ones, okay? When you're done with that, any of these that are left over after that, you toss out the scraps. Here we have the scrap negative pieces adhered to the 6 cards. We're going to pick these up and set them aside. So we have the bases for these cards. We have the bases for these cards. We're going to put them all off to the side. And we're going to move on to step 10. Step 10 involves the strips here of pattern A and strips from pattern B, and we need the color number 4 cardstock that we labeled color 4, and the square mat from step 4. Alrighty, the square mat from step 4. I remember that. All right, and what else do we need? We need, looks like that, it looks like that's it for now, All right, well, the first thing to do is to trim. This is going to be the base of our fourth scrapbook page, layout base. So let's trim it down to 11 3/4 by 11 3/4. Okay. Let's do that first. Let me find my 11 3/4. Where is my, there it is, 11 3/4. I know you may think that this step is not necessary, but I'm telling you what I know. It is much easier to do now than with a completed scrapbook page. 1/4 turn and do it again. 11 3/4. I don't know how many scrapbook pages, completed scrapbook pages, I have gone through and trimmed down. And this is a perfect example. Look at the strips. See how one is real thick and one is real thin? That means this could never have been a true 12 by 12 piece. So now we have made it a true square. It is a true 11 3/4 by 11 3/4 piece. Okay. First we trim that down. Okay. This will become the base of the fourth scrapbook page. Lay flat in front of you. Then hold all 5. Oh, we didn't pick our strips. I forgot. All right, so we want the 3 longest strips of pattern A, 1, 2, 3 of pattern A, and then we're going to, okay, these 3 of pattern A, and let me move that. And then how many of pattern B? The 2 longest strips of pattern B. Okay, not too many left to choose from. The 2 longest strips of pattern B. All right. Lay flat in front of you. Then hold all 5 of the 1-inch strips in your hand at once, lining up the short ends on one side. Okay. So I'm going to pick them all up. And I'm going to get all the short ends, these short ends, all lined up. With scissors, snip off the bottoms of all 5 strips at a sharp angle and toss out remaining triangle scraps. Okay. Hold it, snip at a sharp angle, and then toss these out. Now, scrapbookers and card makers who don't throw out scraps, if you're nervous, put them off to the side, but I'm telling you, you will not need them. You won't. We have to get used to throwing out tiny scraps of paper. We vacuum up things bigger than that. So we have to get used to throwing out scraps of paper. Okay, then arrange the strips on the scrapbook page across the top, pointing downward. Arrange starting at the leftmost side and working your way right. Consider placing the shortest strips in the middle. Ooh, yeah, let's do that. The shortest strips in the middle. Good idea. Okay. I like it. I'm going to tell you what I don't always like. What I don't always like is when it looks so perfect like every other one. Sometimes it needs to look a little good, you know, like a little different. You know what else I really like? Look at the pattern. Look how it ended up, because we weren't so concerned about the pattern as we went along. Look, these snowmen face this way. These snowmen, they face this way, and this one faces all down. I love that so much. I love it. Okay, so we've got that. Leave a little space in between each strip, which you're satisfied with the arrangement of the strips. Adhere them. Okay, I am satisfied with that. Now you could arrange these in any way you wanted. Seriously, you could have, you know, all of the snowmen together. You could have one. I mean, it doesn't have to be all going one way. It all doesn't have to be, you know, and certainly you could look at the strips if you wanted some to have the angle going a different way. This is really nice when you use double-sided paper, because then you can flip the strips and have a couple different patterns going on. It looks really good. Okay, and then it says, adhere the frame from step 4 to the upper right section of the page, and this will become a mat for a 4x4 square photo. Look at that. Yep, it sure will. And let me show you, let's see if I have a, do I have a little 4x4? Look, yeah, look how nice that would look. See? Very nice. Very nice. I think before I adhere this, and this is not in your instructions, but certainly if you like to ink or like to add a little distressed look, you could certainly, now would be the time to do that before you adhere it down. If not, no big deal. As a matter of fact, I think your pattern talks about the white acrylic paint. Now that I am going to do, but I'm going to, along with this distress oxide, I think that would look good too. There. It just adds just a little bit of that look that I want. Okay, are we adhering this down right now? A mat for a 4x4. Let me write that down. Okay, then I won't forget. We'll put this down on the scrapbook page. Don't you love the way it just comes together? I mean, of course we're cutting paper. Of course we're scrapbooking. Of course, you know, it's going to come together, but I love the way it comes together. I like the process. All right. I think I'm going to put him on an angle too. I think that would look good. Are we doing anything else? Let me see here. Locate one piece of color, number 3, size roughly. This is a scrap piece, lower left corner, using a palette knife. Color number 3. Oh, okay. So we might add a little accent piece or something. Okay, there. We'll go like that. That looks good like that. What am I talking about here in this where I say this is color 3. Is this the piece? Sized roughly 3.5 by 2 3/4. 3. Oh, yeah, these are them. Remember these 3 squarish pieces from earlier. Size may vary slightly as this is a scrap piece. That's true. Adhere to the lower left corner. Okay, like that. Oh, that's nice, because it could be for journaling, or it could be for something else in a later step that I know about that you don't know about yet. And I'm going to do texture side up. Excellent. And we're going to put that right like that. Lower left. Very nice. And I absolutely 100% will add white paint. Again, this is optional. Maybe not your style at all. I love the way it looks. Just especially when I'm using a dark paper for a scrapbook page base, as I am here. I just think that looks amazing. And it adds that little something that, you know, you ever look at your pages and you're like, oh, it needs something and I don't know what. Oftentimes this is the something that you didn't know you needed. For me, that's just for me. What I really want to do is go like that. Oh yeah, good, it worked. Good, it worked. Could I do it all the way around? Ooh, I sure could. Good, it's perfect. And right over top, you can always add more, but you can't take away. That's tricky to take away. Okay. Okay. Very nice. Just a little bit right there. And a little bit right there. Good. Love that. Baby wipes for cleanup certainly are optional. Certainly are optional. If you don't use ink or paint, then you probably are only using the baby wipes for your area if you stamped and stuff, you know, over top. There we go. Okay. There. That'll look good. Now again, the paint may not be your style. I really love that. And that is the end of step 10. We're just going to keep moving right along because that went so quick. I mean, look at that beautiful page. Look what you did. Look at that beautiful page you made. Wonderful. Let's locate the 1/2 inch by 12 inch strip of B. Aha, I see him. I see him. And the 1 by 12 inch strip of C. I see that too. I see that. And trim each of these strips to 9 inches. Discard remaining 3-inch strips of each. Locate the scrapbook layout with the heart accent. Well, that's what I was waiting for. Let's trim each of these strips to 9 inches. Okay. 9 inches. Let's see where the 9. 9. Okay. And 9. Let's see where you are. Right there. Now it says to discard, but like we said, if you are nervous, just put all your scraps off to the side. Put all your scraps off to the side. Okay. Locate the scrap with the heart accent. Adhere the 9-inch strip of C on the right vertical side of the large pattern D square. And here the 1/2-inch strip of B on top of the strip of C. Isn't that nice? Oh my goodness. I love how that looks. Where is my picture? Oh, so nice. Now this doesn't say this. But I think I'm gonna do that same thing right here or right here that I did in the other one, even though the pattern doesn't say. I think I'm going to anyway, because I can. It's my scrapbook page, and if you'd like to do that, it's your scrapbook page too. Look at that. Which way do we want it to go? I think I want it to go this way. Look at that. And yes, I am going to put it clear against the edge. Clear against the edge. I sure am. Clear against the edge. That looks great. Look at that. Now this page is considered finished according to the pattern, okay? You could certainly add embellishments here according to what you have in your stash. Stickers, journaling, a little tag, ribbon, glitter, whatever. But you have now got a basic page that is virtually done. If this is good enough for you, then you're done. Then it's good enough for you. Excellent. Okay, we've got one page totally done according to the pattern. We're going to move on to step 12. We are almost finished. We are on step 12. I am so excited about this pattern. This is the point where I get super, super, super excited. Everything starts to come together. So remember all these strips of A and B that we pulled out first, and it was for a later step. Well, now is the time to use them. So we've got the 6 cards with the die cut scrap on top, and we've got these strips, and we'll have our sentiments nearby. Okay, and we're going to adhere one of the strips vertically to the left side of one card, and we're going to, like, we're basically just going to go like this, okay, and adhere it vertically along the left side of the card. That's what we're doing. That is just what we're doing from top to bottom. Now, if you want to do it from like just covering, like leaving the white border, and you just want to do it where this red stops, that would be okay. My advice is to take your fingernail then and make a mark, and then turn it over, and you could see your fingernail mark just perfectly right there, and you can cut right there. And then this one would go right here. Let's do it where we just maybe get them to fit first, and then we'll do all our adhering at once, okay? Now I'm actually going to trim this first here. Use my fingernail and trim, and then this little guy I'm going to keep on hand because I wonder if I need to add more stripe, like if I have a piece that isn't quite long enough, then I can add him in as a filler. Okay, let me do some with the A on there. Oh, look how nice that's gonna look. I love this. I love it, I love it, I love it. Wonderful. Look how the snowmen go up and down. I did not know that that was happening. Now this could be like this. Let me see if I can get it to fit otherwise, okay? Let me see if I can get it to fit otherwise. I love when this happened. This is so great. We should have plenty. It doesn't matter if we have so many of one or so many of another, okay? It really just doesn't. That looks great. Now your strips may end up to be a little bit different sized. Yeah. Just work with what you've got. Snip some. If you've got some scraps, you can fill in the scraps. Okay, just like that. That looks amazing. Let's see. Discard any remaining scraps of A and B. That would be all of these that I am not going to use here. I am going to throw out. That's right. In the actual trash. Again, card makers and scrapbookers. Honest to goodness, when we take the tags off of clothes, we throw out pieces bigger than what we're throwing out today. Now I can hear the voice of someone out there going, I save the tags of my clothes and make cards out of them. Or I use them as accent on my scrapbook pages. I do that too. But I also have uttered this phrase in my house, who left this paper all over here? Or who left this scrap, or who left this wrapper? This candy wrapper. That's most likely what I say. Are you done with this, that I can throw it away? I say to whomever has left the scrap of something on my coffee table. These scraps we're throwing out today are smaller than those. So we have to get used to just saying, it's time to throw that away. We don't have to save every single minuscule scrap of paper. We just don't. Okay. We could ink the edges of the sentiments. We could drag white paint over each one. I love that. And then we're going to make sure we have at least 12 sentiments. Ooh, I did not check that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, good. All right, good. We do have 12 plus 2 more. And because we have extra, guess what it says? If you have more, adhere one of the sentiments to the scrapbook page in step 10. That would be this guy. And look where he goes. Right there. Look at that. Just look at it. Ah, ah, ah. I'm going to use foam tape if I can find my foam tape. Just excellent. Just excellent. That's exactly what I wanted to happen. Is just to have, is just to be going along, and then it just makes itself. Wonderful. Now, honestly, I love it. Oh, I just love it. Okay, so apparently we can now, let's see. Set aside to dry, locate the sentiments. If you have more, in step 10, lower left corner of the colored rectangle. Locate the 6 die cut stamped images from step 5. Using adhesive foam dots, adhere 6 sentiments and 6 stamped images to each of the 6 cards from this step. Okay. Well, what's it going to look like without the paint? Because I always reach for the paint first. So let's just see. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Look, I'm so happy I used the red. Remember my decision making about not being sure if I was going to use the red? I am glad I used the red. All right, now do we have 12 here? This is the question. 1, 2, oops, let me count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, we have many more than 12. Okay, we have many more than 12. All right, so you know what I need to do first? Because some of these are going to go on 6 stamped images, but let me see here. I know I've got 12 cards, so let me do 1, 2, 3. Let me do the big ones. I'm going to need to do something here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Aha, see? Okay, so 10 will have big ones. Now we'll need an 11th one. Yeah, 11, 12. All right, good. That'll look like that. Now these two are going to need to have something with it. And we're going to make sure they have 3. Since they have little ones, they're going to need to have 3. All right, good. Now, do I have enough to do the rest where they can have, yeah, that'll be good. 1 ornament, but then these 2 of them will have 3. That's fine. That's fine. Because look. Good. And we'll mount him up. Oh my goodness. That looks great. Yep. Oh, look at that. I don't want it to do that. That would be too much. These look great. I love it. I think I want the long ones here. There, that's kind of wonky looking here. There we go. Good. And these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for my other 6 cards. Wonderful. I am going to add the paint before I put these down, okay? And then I will show you the finished products. So what I'll do is I'll drag paint over with the palette knife. You don't have to. Or if you wanted to ink the edges of the card or do something like that, or depending on your sentiment, do you want to do it like that, you know, over top and then mount the whole thing up? That actually looks kind of good. Yeah, that actually looks kind of good. But then the question is, what will we do about a string if it's mounted up like that? That's what I'm thinking of. See, if I mount this guy up, then I can draw a string with a marker or something if I even wanted to. See, I got to think like that. Not sure, not sure. But I sure like this idea. Yeah. We could always just have it coming out of the top of the card. Like that. Yeah, maybe. Maybe we'll put a real string on there underneath. Ooh, okay. That'll be good. I am adding, ooh, I had this in my stash. I actually don't really like this very much, and so I don't really use it very much, because when I rely on like a glitter glue to make an accent, it's probably like to fill in a space or something. But I thought that this is so, it's kind of such a busy card already. I don't need to rely on the dot. This is just something I had in my stash, like I said. This is not in the pattern. You don't have to do this. It's actually fine without it. I just had it and I don't use these very often, and I thought, well, maybe this is a good opportunity to use them, because and I'm tapping it down because sometimes these don't stick well. They sit on top and then when they dry they kind of fall off if I make it too much like a little drop, you know. My favorite are like the Stickles or the Nuvo drops. Or, well, the Ranger ones are good too. I like the Wendy Vecchi ones. So, yeah, that's good. Now let me show you on this first one that I did here. Okay. So here I did, I put this is the Stamp and Die Cut, the sentiment. I added some touches, and for the little quote-unquote string, I just basically added some, it's just like a cheap glitter glue that I just had. Isn't that nice? So now we have our first, or our six of our 12 cards are finished right here according to our pattern. Isn't that lovely? Excellent. Let me line them up a little bit better. And then maybe I can put a snapshot in. Okay. Yeah, that's nice. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah, there. Look at that. Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. We're on the last step of the pattern. I'm so excited. I am so excited because I actually have to go pick up my kids from school. So, perfect. This is absolutely perfect. We are on step 13. It says locate the remaining 6 cards, the 2x2 pattern B squares, all right, which are here. But guess what else it says? And the 3x3 pattern D squares. And I was like, I don't have any of those. All I had were these D strips. And then I realized that back in step 6, and if you take a second and look back in step 6, it sure does say to trim down these remaining pieces. I bet they're 3 inches on one side. They sure are. So these are supposed to have been in step 6. We just skipped it. Trimmed to 3x3 squares. My bad. My bad. No harm done. We will just do it now. But wouldn't it be amazing if they were all 3x3 squares, which of course they are. Okay. We'll put those there. And we'll do all 3x3 squares right here. 3. Okay. 1. And a 3x3. Yep. I just literally skipped that step, so maybe you noticed it in the making of the video. I'm sure I edited in a little note for you because, like I said, sometimes the making of the video the final time is when I iron out all the problems that you may have so that by the time you get the pattern, you do not have those problems. So on the bottom of each card, we will adhere one of these 3x3 squares straight against the panel. On top of that square, we're going to use adhesive foam dots or adhesive tape to put this, another square. Do I want it? Ooh, yikes. No, definitely to horizontal. Ooh. Then a die cut stamped image. Now, here's the thing, is if I use this guy, he's going to be by himself. But on some of them, because I ran out of the big ones, I'm going to have 3. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 3. Like that. Alrighty. Okay, very nice. That'll look good. And then the sentiment goes on the top portion, just like so. Oh, I love it. That is so great. What I might do is do it the reverse though and pop up the sentiment and leave these flat. Okay, that's what I might do. That's the little formula we're gonna follow, okay? Now, we can hand draw a little border. If we plan to do that though, we should do it first. Let me show you on one. Do I have a little black marker or something, or a pen or something? Well, I don't know if I have a black one, but I can use a white one. I can't find my black one right now at the moment. This is what I mean. You can just hand draw like a little doodle if you want. Okay, just like around the edges. That's all that means. Just sometimes, you know how it just looks like it needs something. There. So you could do just something that like that and then put your, okay, like so, and finish off those cards like that. Oh, that looks really good. That looks really, really good. Yeah, it just depends on what you like. You know, I really like this. I really, really like the way it looks with the blue. The colors are, I'm so pleased with the colors. Now, we're going to finish off the rest of these cards, but I want to explain the very last part of that step. It said, if if desired, ink the edges of the card. If you have leftover die cut stamped images, which we do. We still had these left over in my yogurt cup. add one to each of the 3 diamond squares on the double page scrapbook spread. Remember him? Remember this? That went like this? Now look, we could go, because we have some left over, check this out. We could actually add 3 to each. We have so many. Oh, you can't see that. We could go like that. And we could go like that. Maybe. Oh, or something. I'm going to need to have, I can't have 2 of the same. Or, let's do this. Let's even do this. Because I had an extra sentiment. Look at that. That's how that scrapbook page will end up. Okay. I'm not going to get too hung up on the string. I could just do hints of string. Hints of string, okay? Up till it reaches here. And then up till it reaches here. Or just draw it on with a pen or something. Okay? That's outstanding. That's outstanding. So I'm going to finish that up. I'm going to finish these up. And then we're going to come back and look at everything from the pattern. Well, these are the scraps that are left over from the end of the project. And certainly you could go through and take some of these strips and add, for example, this is the single page that we ended up with, including embellishments. And I just took my white gel pen and went around, just added the little lines right there. Doesn't that look great? But certainly if you wanted to, you could go back through and add with some of these leftover scraps. Even though I could have thrown these away all along the way, you know, but you have enough to play with. And at the end, there's really nothing wasted. Please, please, please do not save, when you're totally done and happy with the project, please don't save these tiny, tiny scraps. That's the whole point, is use everything for this project and then get rid of it. You've even got some leftover pattern A pieces, pattern B pieces, and then again, of course, you can keep the heart template to use however you want for other projects. I always keep like just the outline one and then a couple dark ones to have on hand or whatever. And there we have it. We're done with our projects. So I'm going to toss out my scraps and let's take a look at what we've come up with today. We have made in one sitting, and starting with our papers, we have made our double page scrapbook spread, which looks amazing. And it can certainly hold all of our photos that we've put on the sides. We've left room. We've also made a single page. And then we've made another single page. And remember that this one has a frame. You won't see that heart cut out, and it's got a frame for here. And certainly if you wanted to, you could use other embellishments or whatever. There's room for journaling. We've also made, these are our cards. Look at that. Now, doesn't that look wonderful? Honestly. And we are just about, I mean, imagine being that ready for Christmas after one sitting. And we have our 12 cards. Wonderful. Now, I have done this before when I was creating the pattern in the first place. I had to do it a bunch of different times. So, take a look at this same pattern. Let me move this out of the way. Imagine this same pattern, still Christmas, but using just a different pattern that you start with. Okay, there's your spot for your picture. There is, I'll just leave that there. Here's your heart cutout page. Look at that, that beautiful paper. And here is your double page spread, just with different paper, different stamp set, pictures that go down here, pictures that go down here. As a matter of fact, here I can show you what that would look like. Okay, just to give you an idea. Oh, I don't know where my other picture went. Oh, there we go. Look how nice that would look. I mean, of course, these wouldn't be the pictures, but just to give you an idea of how nice that would look with the pictures. Okay? And then, let me get this out of the way. Now you've got, some of the cards have already been handed out, but with the stamp set that I used, there I have a few left over. And a few left over from this pattern. Look at the little reindeer. Isn't that so cute? Same pattern. I used great paper from Dare to Be Artsy. Look at that. Wonderful. That is beautiful paper. Now this was the cool thing about this, making it with this paper, is that this was double-sided paper. Yeah, double-sided paper. So great. Love that. Here's our heart pattern, right? I moved it down a little bit just because I felt like it. Added a little bit of paint. That looks good. Here, because see, I could alternate the strips because they were double-sided strips. So great, great, great. And this is the double page spread. And of course, when you add your photos, as you know, your photos make all the difference in the world. And just whatever photos you plan to add, that go like that. So wonderful. I love this. Okay. And then the cards, I don't think I have too many of these left. Is it only 4? I believe it is. Yep, it sure is only 4. That's all I have left of the cards that I made, but I did make the 12 originally. This was some paper that I made with the jelly plate. I used my jelly plate paper. Yeah, that looks good. That looks really good. There's that. I lost the little picture, though, that I was using to put in the... Oh, no, I didn't. Here it is. There. Okay. Great page. Great page. And then, of course, here's the heart one. Okay. That looks great no matter what. And this, I love the way this looks so much. Look at the stamps with the butterfly stamps. Oh my goodness. There's that jelly plate paper. I used like a rope or something, some cording on the jelly plate that time. Doesn't that look great? A lot of paint spatter. Awesome. Just awesome. And then the pictures there as such, right? And then the cards, don't have too many of these left over, but look how they turned out. That is outstanding. And then you've got cards just for whenever. It all started with one pattern, and then the papers you already have, and a few items, scrapbook supplies, stamping supplies you already have on hand. Thank you so much for your purchase, for purchasing pattern 2. Certainly check out sandpaperroad.com and click on Craft Outfitting, and you will be linked to where you see lots of other options for the patterns as they become available. And have fun crafting. Go through your stash, use everything that you have, and end up making great, great projects. So thanks so much for your purchase, and can't wait to see you in the next pattern video tutorial. Take care. Bye-bye.